Welcome to the Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak Panel Discussion featuring Nihon Falcom President Toshihiro Kondo and voice actors. My name is Anne, and I'll be your MC for today. So, of course, we can't get this panel started without our very special guests, so please allow me to welcome our main panelist and the president of Nihon Falcom, Mr. Toshihiro Kondo. So, Mr. Kondo, today is day 2 of Anime Expo 2024, and I know you've already had a busy first day. You've had some signings, as well as our first panel was the East 10 Nordics panel last night, where we announced the release date for East 10 Nordics on October 25th. So what are your feelings about this year's Anime Expo so far?
It's been 5 years since I've had the opportunity to come to Los Angeles and Anime Expo, and I was actually really worried whether or not people would come to see me with this big gap of time. But apparently I had nothing to worry about because so many of you have come today. Thank you so much for coming. I'm really looking forward to this panel. Let's have fun.
Thank you. I know we're all really excited here for the Trails Through Daybreak panel and the big announcement coming up. Can you let Mr. Kondo know how excited you are today?
The Legend of Heroes, Trails Through Daybreak II.
Coming early 2025 to Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Well, thank you, everyone. As you can see, Trails Through Daybreak 2 is coming early 2025, and we hope you're all excited for the release. So, avoiding spoilers, of course, Mr. Kondo, can you tell us what our audience has to look forward to in Daybreak 2?
First of all, I'm really excited to be here on the launch day of Daybreak 1 to be able to present to you Daybreak 2 and the official announcement in the West. I really can't say too much about 2 since 1 just came out today and you really need to play that one first, but you'll really enjoy seeing all the characters that you'll have the opportunity to meet in 1 and how much they've grown and changed and how much they play a big role in Daybreak 2, so please look forward to that.
So, Mr. Kondo, there have been some changes in Daybreak made to the battle system. Could you talk about the new changes?
Up until now, all of the Trails games have kind of had an upgraded version of what had come before in terms of combat. However, starting from Daybreak 1, things have been drastically changed in several different ways. For example, the biggest change would be that in the field battles, they're kind of like an action RPG. And so when you're running around fighting people in the field, you'll do it from more of an action RPG standpoint. However, at any time, you're able to turn those battles into what would be more of a turn-based system. However, those turn-based systems as well, it's been made to have a really quick tempo and to feel really good and fun to play. So I think you'll enjoy both aspects of this new combat. We've gotten a lot of feedback over the years from JRPG players, both in Japan and in the West, about combat, and essentially how turn-based combat has, well, people are getting maybe a little, they think it's a little old and a little stale. And so we thought to ourselves, what could we do to improve upon this and to make it better? And we believe that this version of turn-based combat with the real-time combat is an evolution of what's come before in all JRPGs. And we want to present something to you that we feel is fresh and exciting and really goes further than what's ever gone before in terms of combat in JRPGs. So we'd love to hear your feedback after you have a chance to spend a lot of time with the game and let us know what you felt about it. I think it's a battle system that you've never seen anything the likes of in other JRPGs that you've played, so please look forward to that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kondo. So we have a little introduction to the new world in the Trails Through Daybreak story, and we would like to also talk about, of course, the characters who are a big part of this game. So the game starts with Agnes, the character here played by AmaLee, taking a job to our main character Vaughn, who works as a Spriggan. This job rides the line between legality and illegality. We're going to be talking about these characters a bit more in detail, but who better to talk about it than the voice actors? So we'd like to welcome Damien Hass, who plays Vaughn, and AmaLee, who plays Agnes, to the stage.
The name's Van. Van Arkwright.
It's fine, Van. I've told you before that I'm going to stay right by your side.
So now that we have the talent themselves on stage, I'd like to dig a little deeper and discuss the characters more in depth. One of the big draw points of the Trails series is, of course, the characters and how much depth they have. So Vaughn and Agnes are the two main characters of this game, and are already seeing a lot of popularity even before the games come out in English. So could you tell us more about each of your characters?
Yes. Agnes Claudel I love her so much. What a sweet character. She's working with Arkwright Solutions along with Van, and we're meeting many new friends along the way and just having really cool adventures. And I can't wait for you guys to meet her and the rest of the crew, obviously.
Van is he's just so cool, you guys. He's just so cool. I feel like if I were as strong as Van, I hope I would lead as good of a life as he does. Whether it's taking naps, eating sweets, only taking on the jobs you want to take on, and also using a weapon that is not lethal. I'm like, that's a good individual right there.
And Mr. Kondo, we'd love to hear more of your insights about the inspiration behind these two characters.
To start talking about Van, we actually have to first start with the country of Calvard, where the game is set. So Calvard is a really complex society. You have people of many different social statuses, different jobs, different types of life and different ethnicities even, all living in this one place. And there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes and kind of the darker alleys of life, you could say, compared to past entries. And so the thing about Van is that he is able to kind of operate within all of these different types of society. He has links to each and every part of society, and he seems to have this mysterious draw to him that people want to be around him. And through the course of the game, people do come around to him. And I kind of think that maybe the reason he loves sweets so much is that he's kind of sweet himself, that it draws all these people to him.
スイーツ好きなんていうのはそういうところから多分発生した設定なんじゃないかなと思ってます。
So Agnes here, she actually kicks off the game by going to Van's office and knocking on the door to this kind of weird guy who does these jobs that no one really knows what they are, and she kicks things off.
訪ねるところから物語が始まります。
And Agnes is a really mysterious girl, actually. She has a lot going on with her. The way she kicks off the adventure is that she brings a certain item to Van's office, and they both, this item leads them to go on an adventure, as it were. The thing is, though, is that even though she is a high school student living a normal high school girl student's life, and she looks really cute, she is a very strong character, and she has a lot of mysteries within her as well. And so there's a lot of depth to this character. What I'd really like you to enjoy as you're playing the game is how these two people from very different layers of society come together and how they, forge this relationship and at the same time kind of joke with each other and have fun talking about sweets and other things. And yeah, it's a really cool relationship they forged together.
Thank you, Mr. Kondo. I would love to hear more from Damien and AmaLee about what it was like, your impressions while performing these characters.
From the auditions, I definitely thought that, Agnes, when you first meet her, she is very sweet, as Mr. Kondo said. But I really enjoyed seeing how her character evolves throughout the game. I think as an actor, I love characters with like a really deep story. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy the adventure that everyone goes on in this game. But yeah.
You brought up the audition. Even in the audition, I sort of clocked how Van very much wants to come across like he doesn't care. He wants his own freedom. He doesn't want to be tied to anything. But so quickly you can see like there's a lot of heart there. There is sweetness, to borrow that word. And it made it a very layered character to play. I also want to say very quickly, when I first showed up to record, I had a lot of voiceover friends who had just done Reverie. And, there's 50 some odd playable characters. And that's what I thought Van was in this game. And so they were like, here he is, you're our guy. I'm like, yeah, Van's the guy. And they were like, no, you're the guy. And I'm like, you have to tell me what you mean by that. And they were like, he's in the whole game, he's the guy. And I'm like, oh. So that was really cool. That was a fun surprise.
Wow, that's great. Well, I'm sure since we have both of the voice actors here as special guests, you'd like to hear them in character, right? Yeah? All right. So let's get to some actual voice acting live on stage. We're going to share a scene from the game, and then we'll see them do it for you.
バンだ。バンアークライド。どういうつてでここにたどり着いたかは知らんが、4SPG を知ってるってことは、
He's too excited. He
俺の
wants to
肩書き
start
が
right
何かも
away.
知っているはずだな。
はい。警察にも、遊撃士協会にも相談しにくいことを引き受けてもらえるという請負に、スプリガン。そう呼ばれていると伺っています。
Okay, so this is the scene where Vaughn and Anya's first meet. You've just heard the Japanese version. I wanted to know from Mr. Kondo if he has any special memories of this scene or anything particular he remembers about its creation.
そうですね。
This is actually a really important scene. This is the scene when the main character, and the heroine first meet. And so it was really important for us to show the personality of each of them in this scene. It comes out a little bit later, actually, after the scene that we just saw, but Van says something really terrible to Agnes. And at first glance, it seems like, wow, what a horrible thing to say. But as you play through the game, you begin to see that there was a deep reason for why he said what he said to her, and all of that becomes revealed. So the important thing to take away from this is that as the creators of this game, we take these scenes really carefully, and particularly a scene like this where we're introducing the main characters, there's a lot of depth, even though it just seems like they're having a normal conversation.
Great, thank you. Now, are you ready to hear our voice actors perform the English version? Yeah? Okay, so we're going to tee up the same scene, and we'll ready it up for you now.
The name's Van Arkwright. Don't got a clue how you found out about me. But if you know the 4SPG code, you gotta know what work I do here, right?
I do. You're a contractor people go to when they have a job they feel uncomfortable discussing with the police guild. I'm told people often refer to you as a Spriggan.
Thank you. So how is that, everyone? And Mr. Kondo, what did you think about hearing the English voice actors after the Japanese version?
そうですね。
I'm really impressed. I thought that maybe they would end up being really different, but I think that the English voice acting lives up exactly to the Japanese voice acting. Van still sounds rough, tough, and ready to rumble as he does in Japanese, and Anya sounds just as cute and gentle as she does in Japanese. So I think neither of them have lost anything compared to what the Japanese talent brought to the scene.
And Damien and AmaLee, I know you probably have heard the Japanese voices before you started recording. Was there anything that you had that stuck out to you when you first heard those voices?
Yeah, Van's definitely got a lot of bravado, regardless of what language is being spoken. There's this, there's this aspect of almost like authority to him, but he's still so young. I think he's 24, and it's so difficult to find that line, and that's something I could really lock in on.
I really just love how Anya's story evolves. She does have like these really sweet moments where she's really cute, and then suddenly she'll like snap and she'll really get into it. And she's like, no. And I love that about her. I love that she can have that juxtaposition of her personality. I just think it's really cool to have a character with that much depth. It's really, because it's, as voicing many female characters, sometimes they are only cute, but I love that Anya has that depth to her and makes her really formidable in the team. Yeah.
And when you're in the recording booth, is there anything you really had to keep in mind or pay attention to while you were doing your characters?
I have a thought if that's okay. Yeah, so like I said, he has this almost like authority, this gravitas to his voice, this bravado, but like there's still a microphone this close. So sometimes I would like bring that in a little bit too much, but we're sitting this or the characters are sitting that close in conversation. So you have to be like, you gotta tuck it back a little bit. You're not yelling at their face. You're just saying hello, and I'm like, got it, like an interaction. Got it. So.
Fair. I feel like I had the opposite problem because for Agnes, especially like during some of the battle lines and stuff, I still have to keep it very cute, but she has to project so much. So I had the opposite problem, which is very interesting. I had to do it louder and louder. Yeah. That's very funny.
So, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I always like the shouting in the battle lines. It's like therapy that I get paid to do. So it's very nice.
So since we have Mr. Kondo here in person, is there anything both of you would like to ask him while you're here?
I was curious for Van. You'll see in the game, there's a lot of different side quests, side activities, and Van is able to do a lot of things. Is there anything that you imagine Van is terrible at?
バンができないこと。
What Van can't do.
もう基本的に何でも。
This is more of a story type answer, but Van does say in the game that, he has his own rules and rhythm and way of doing things in life, and he won't take on jobs that he doesn't feel fit within those, and so those are probably the kind of jobs he wouldn't do.
まずそういったものが挙げられますよね。はい。まあ確実にあと。
And another type of job he would absolutely say no to is a job that would ruin good food.
お断りすると思います。
And my question's a little bit different, but I know that Agnes has many friends in the game and she loves recruiting people into Arc Ride Solutions. And I was wondering if Agnes was to meet any other character from any of your other games, who do you think she'd be friends with?
基本的に
I think the thing about Agnes is that she doesn't look at other people with prejudice. And so I feel like with her, even like the bad guy characters in our other games, she could probably become really good friends with.
悪いやつ以外はどんな人でも仲良くなっちゃうんじゃないかなと思います。
Oh, thank you. So speaking about other games, of course, we've had the Daybreak II English localization announcement just now. What will fans have to look forward to as they continue their journey from Daybreak I to Daybreak II? Can you tell us anything, Mr. Kondo?
そうですね。黒の奇跡。
So with Daybreak 1, obviously, it's a brand new cast and they're all new characters. And so what you get to experience is all of these people coming together, meeting for the first time, learning how to work together. Van is the oldest protagonist so far in series history, and he kind of takes on a role where he is in charge of other people and he gives them direction. But within that, he also gives them a lot of advice. And so what I'd like you to really pay attention to as you play through Daybreak 1 is to how these characters you think they're going to grow. In what direction will they change? In what direction will they improve? And then into 2, I'd love you to pay attention to how they've actually done that. What is the advice that Van has given them, including Agnes? How has that changed them? How has that made them grow as people?
それぞれで考えながらこう活躍していくという姿を見ることができますので、そこがやっぱりちょっと1から2にかけて、じっくり楽しんでほしいところですね。だから1をやるときにどう彼らが成長していくのかなというところを注目していただければと思います。
Great. And then also from our voice actors, do we have any changes we can look forward to with Agnes? A little something you can tell us?
Ooh, I don't want to spoil anything before they play the first game.
I'll spoil it. No, I'm just kidding. I think the Trails series is so known for its lore. And like when you meet a Trails fan, they're so excited, because this thing relates to a Trails game that came out 2 decades ago. And so, I mean that like one of my closest friends is a huge Trails fan and talks to me about it before this was ever announced. Obviously, I didn't tell her that I was doing this, but she was like, have you ever played anything by Trails? You'll probably love it. And I was like, no, never heard of it. I don't know. So point is like, such a big game with a new combat system, this whole new cast of characters. Think of everything that Trails builds on from game to game. And then we're going to do that again. And so that's the most non-spoilery way I could say anything, I think.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so as everyone knows, and you've just mentioned that Daybreak 1 is a really great jumping in point because we've got this new arc, we've got new main characters, and you're definitely going to want to play it to see what happens to them in the sequel.
I'm excited to play it.
Same.
We reached out to fans on social media to get their questions for him. So we'll move into the Q&A section now. Let's use our remaining time to go through as many of these as we can without rushing, of course. So question number 1 is, Mr. Kondo, what do you personally want players to look forward to most in Daybreak and the Calvard region?
そうですね、主人公の。
First, what I'd like you to enjoy is the setting itself. So Van lives in the capital city of Calvert called Edith, which is a very, very large city. But throughout the course of the game, he will have the opportunity to travel to many other different cities, sometimes small villages that are all set within Calvert. And all of them paint a very different picture of this place in this world. And so the way the game generally proceeds is that Van will go out to one of these places, and then he'll come back to the home base in Edith. So I really like you to enjoy and see all of the places that are in Calvert and what Calvert has to offer, because it is so complex.
楽しんでもらえればなとまずは思います。それからやっぱり主人公のバンはですね。
Another thing about Van is that in his role as a Spriggan, it places him in a different place from all the other protagonists so far. So far we've had bracers, we've had people on the police force, we've had people that have been part of the military. Van is not like that at all. Van is in a position where he is connected to so many different types of people, including people in the underworld. In fact, sometimes he even gets jobs from places like Ouroboros. So his connections spread far and wide to many different places. And this is something that we've never really done before as a protagonist in these games. So we really want you to look forward to that. On the flip side, if you are just joining us for this game for the first time, you can jump in right here and feel perfectly comfortable since it is all new.
黒からプレイしてくださるお客様もいっぱい楽しめる部分だと思うので期待してください。あとはやっぱり最後バトル。
And finally, this is a bit of a repeat of what I mentioned earlier, but I really do want to focus on combat as well. We've done something here that we've never done before, and I guarantee you it's not something that's out there that you've seen, and it's not like any other game in terms of combat. And I really want you to enjoy that and enjoy what we've had prepared for you there. So please enjoy combat when you have a chance to play this
ぜ
game
ひ
as well.
皆さんチャレンジしてみてください。
Thank you. So for the next question, Damien, would you be able to read this in Vaughn's voice for us?
You got it. Out of the entire cast in the game, which character is your favorite and why?
お二人がいる前でちょっと答えにくいですけどね。
It's really hard to answer this in front of the two voice actors.
でもやっぱり今回
But the thing is that Van, like I said, is a really different type of protagonist that we haven't done up till now in the series. And so I really think he's a cool protagonist. I like him.
いい主人公だなというふうに思ってます。非常にやっぱりちょっと大人っぽい
He really stands out because he is older. He's an adult. And starting with Agnes, he has an opportunity to work with people who are much younger than him. And he gives them advice and he gives them direction. But at the same time, they love to tease him because he loves sweets. He loves like hanging out and sleeping in the saunas. And so he's kind of like an old man. And so there's a really good back and forth between all these characters. And I really do think that you'll enjoy Van as the main character.
非常に懐の広いキャラクターとして皆さんに受け入れられてもらえるんじゃないかなというふうに思ってます。
Thank you. Now for question number 3, could we get this from Anya's?
Yes, I got you. What was the process behind creating the new combat system? Why was it changed from the past trail games?
そうですね。過去作品で、
So the thing about combat with this game is that when you look back at the past 20 years of the history of the series, you have from Sky all the way through Cold Steel what you'd kind of call almost an SRPG approach to the game and the combat system. And we wanted to try something really different from that we hadn't done before. It turns out that right around the same time we were making this game, we had some new staff members come in, and they brought a lot of great ideas to the table. And so we decided to let's approach combat from the ground up and start from scratch and start fresh. And so that's how we approached combat for this game.
いうところからスタートしました。一番初めに
When we made Sky, we were about the same age as Van, although Van was a lot more of an adult than we were because we were just kids when we made it. And so we thought that this would be a good opportunity to add a lot more new. As I mentioned earlier, we've had a lot of feedback about, even though people like turn-based combat, a lot of times they feel that it can be really slow. And that's something that we really wanted to address. And the way we wanted to do that was not necessarily by just making it like Ys, for example, which is an action RPG, but we wanted to still incorporate these elements to still have it have a really good tempo and a really good flow. And so we believe that we've addressed kind of that issue with the combat for this game.
ご意見が多かった。やっぱり戦闘のテンポが良くなかったんでしょうね。
Thank you. So we're running a little low on time, so we'll just ask one more question today. We haven't really got to talk about the Grendel armor very much yet, so we wanted to know what was the inspiration behind the design for the Grendel armor?
So we wanted to have like a transformation. Like we really like transformation stuff and like transformation hero dramas, like Kamen Rider, Masked Rider, for example. And so I think a lot of members of the staff were really influenced by those types of things. And so I would say it's probably one of the biggest
そ
inspirations.
のあたりの影響はスタッフに対して非常に大きかったんじゃないかなと思います。それから黒の奇跡2に
And then talking about 2 a little bit, actually there's another character, if you will, that comes out that's also like a Grendel in direct opposition to Van's Grendel. And we thought it was really cool because it offered the chance to show the difference between Van and this other character. And we actually took the inspiration from that from Spider-Man and Venom. We wanted to kind of have that evil character that was in contrast to the other. And so we didn't take the design inspiration from that, but just the idea of having a rival type character we thought would be really cool.
Okay, well, sadly, I think that's about all the time we have for today, but I'd like to ask our voice actors here what you thought of the panel, if you have any messages for the fans in the audience.
Just hope that you guys enjoy the game. Let us know what you think online, maybe. Would love to know your thoughts.
Ditto to that. Thank you. Everything I've seen so far has been really positive. I thank you for trusting us with this huge series that so many people care deeply about. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today. So, and Mr. Kondo, this was a jam-packed panel. We have our voice actors here. We had the Daybreak II announcement. How did you feel today?
そうですね。
First of all, again, I'm really impressed and pleased and gratified to see so many people here. We really appreciate it. Second of all, it's really wonderful to be able to meet the voice talent for the game in English. And so I'm really pleased and excited and happy to have met both of you. And then last but not least, actually, as soon as I get back to Japan, I have to get to work on the next game in the series because we actually have what's called Master Up for it to like turn it into the first party. So I'm a very busy bee and I will continue to bring out games that I hope that you love and enjoy.
励みたいなというふうに思いました。
So, Mr. Kondo, this is your last day in the US, your last day at Anime Expo. How are you feeling for the rest of the day ahead?
そうですね。せっかくAX まで来
Well,
たので。
I'm here. I'm excited to be here. I'm really looking forward to doing both the AX live light stream and especially the Tracing the Trails panel in a couple hours. And I really hope to see all you there. I'm going to do my best, so I hope to see you out there.
参加していただければなと思います。頑張ります。
Great. Thank you so very much. Everyone, please give it up to our wonderful guests. Thank you for your time.